Given your really incredible experience, on the product side with these companies such as, Yelp and Facebook at scale, if you were to, work with like an earlier stage marketplace founder and kind of translate that over, what would some of those kind of like learnings or kind of like tips be for maybe some that are looking to build, a more vertical local services marketplace?
Yeah. So I've actually been getting involved a lot in the Indian startup scene and trying to talk to a lot of people who are working with um, like early stage companies and trying to build like marketplaces. I think that I mostly talk to them about like three things, uh, which I believe are like super important while building a 0 to 1 product, especially like a marketplace. First one is like the super cliched one, which is start with a healthy niche and a real friction to solve. That seems really, really obvious, but it's often the hardest thing to like figure out, like what's a healthy niche. Even when like I'm trying to build like product at Facebook or like talk to other people, you'd see people go to like such like specific problems that you would be like, why does Facebook care about that? But these very specific problems that seem tangible and real to you also seem tangible and real to someone else and are the crux to scaling a product. Like Request a Code didn't get up and start generating millions of projects on day one. Day one, I wasn't there on day one, but like day one, it was probably solving hiring process for movers in San Francisco in like, 5 mile radius. Seems oddly specific, but this is what helps a product grow and help you get the initial footing for like being able to build a tangible product. When you build for all, you build for no one. So get a very like start with a healthy niche and then a real friction to solve, and it should feel tangible to you. Till it doesn't feel oddly specific to you, do like drill down further, ask the why at least three more times after that. Second is invest in matching by merchandising services. What I mean by matching and merchandising is the process of essentially matching the supply and demand and making these connections in a much faster manner. Earlier, like in the 90s, early 2000s, you would see platforms only like list and rank all of these like businesses. Times have changed now. Business consumers are willing to take, consumers want curated lists, consumers want limited options. You want to give them the best options because if you want, someone else will. Attention spans are decreasing. People do not want to do that anymore. Now, in order to actually match people and figure out what matching means in your context, you need to first figure out what is the atomic unit needed for matching here. For example, for request a code, the atomic unit needed for matching is the job that needs to be done, the service area that it needs to be done in, and the time it needs to be done in. There are three atomic units to defining its service there. And these three might mean something else in your context. Now, in order to leverage these for matching, I need to go through a process of merchandising. I think process of merchandising is what truly helps you develop a moat for your startup and your company. Merchandising is the process of getting these atomic units and services ready to be sold in a format that they can be sold in a digital way. In 2010, Yelp probably could not have built request a code because service offerings, service areas, and all of these things did not exist in a merchandise format. Now, Yelp has huge amounts of data, like can succeed in multiple categories across the board. It can be a request a code can be a great product for movers. It can be a great product for real estate agents. It could be a great product for doctors. But to be able to do that, we've invested years and years of merchandising those services and getting it to a point where we can digitize it. When a new company comes into the same, like you, no one can just get up and start building a request code and at that scale because you do not have those that in merchandise information in a structured format available online. And third is experiment with monetization strategies before committing to one. Monetization strategies, yes, obviously they define how you make money, but they also help incentivize your product development internally. They all the decisions that you make add up, and they make it really hard to switch to a different monetization scheme. Play around with it early on. For example, the three main monetization schemes strategies that I usually see for local services and marketplace businesses is cost per click, cost per lead, and cost per transaction. When you're focusing on cost per clicks, you're focusing more on volume. When you're focusing on cost per lead, you're not focusing on volume, you're focusing on quality, and that quality is defined by you. Like, and that quality is also something which you define, you develop a trust with your business owners, and you cannot change it once you've committed to it. And you make product decisions based on to amplify that definition of quality. For example, Thumbtack says, if during we only charge you for a lead if it's sent if you respond within 4 hours of waking hours, where they define waking hours as 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you don't, so if you sorry, I messed that up. If you respond within if the lead was sent between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and you as a business owner responded within 4 hours and the consumer did not respond, you don't have to pay for it. But if you responded after 4 hours, uh, then it's your responsibility for that lead not having worked. These product decisions that you keep on making are really hard to go back on and change. And third was cost per transaction, which is the best suited like monetization strategy for early stage startups, because cost per clicks and cost per leads sort of inherently required you to be already successful. That's why you don't see many cost per click platforms. You don't see as many cost per lead platforms. Cost per transaction makes the more amount of sense. And I also saw Lenny had a great post recently on like figuring out your take rates for how do you define like take rates for cost per transaction posts. I think that was that was super interesting. So 3 things. Start with a healthy niche and a real problem that feels tangible to you. Invest in matching and merchandise your services. That will go a long way. And third, experiment with multiple monetization strategies before committing to one. Because you will not only incur monetization debt, I guess, but also product development debt that you will not be able to roll back.